They're going to put you all back in chains.
The best thing to help prevent violent crime in the inner cities is to bring opportunity in the inner cities. That's what charities and civic groups and churches do to help one another make sure that they can realize the value in one another.
And you can do all that by cutting taxes, right, with a big tax cut.
Those are yours, not mine.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. That was kind of strange. You're trying to stuff words in people's mouths.
How is this going to affect the average American? How is this going to affect people's lives? That's what's inside this man. That's what makes him tick.
Fear and division is all they've got left. With all their attack ads, the president is just throwing away money. And he's pretty experienced at that.
Can't even agree on the sound bites. Who will we see on Thursday's VP debate, gentlemen? Joe or Scranton Joe? Wonky Ryan or somebody who gets a little testy when pushed? All right. First off, nobody usually cares about the VP debate. It's good theater. We'll get a good Lloyd Benson line.
And nobody does. And nobody does on
You
Thursday
don't think
night.
this will matter?
Of course it matters. It does. Listen, here's how it matters. If one of them decides to drool on themselves or drop their drawers on stage, outside of that, Lloyd Benson beat Dan Quayle 9 out of 10 Americans. It did not move the political needle at all.
If I told you that the presidential debate in Denver would have moved the needle that much, you would have said it wouldn't either.
No, I wouldn't have said that. It's a presidential debate.
Tom, here's the
Presidents
difference.
matter.
These days, okay, I 90% of the time I agree with you, but these days, a challenger has to meet a certain threshold as a vice president. Can this person be presidential? Can they step into the shoes of the president if the worst happens? Are they somebody that can lead this country? They have to meet that threshold. They have a burden of proof that they must reach.
If Sarah Palin passed that test 4 years ago, she did.
And that's why McCain lost.
In the debate, she passed. If she could pass, Paul Ryan certainly could pass.
Look, he's pretty young. He's pretty radical, and he is not. And he's not somebody who anybody feels can move to the middle. Okay, so that's one major problem. The second thing is, and I agree, vice presidents don't really matter except if something extreme happens. However, in this situation, we have a scenario where the president really didn't do so well in his last debate, and if Biden gets stampeded in this debate, it would be 2 knockdowns, and I think we would have a terrible running record.
Andrew, you think we see more? I think when Joe Biden tries to play hero ball, everybody gets really nervous, okay?
What does that mean by that?
When Joe Biden's like, don't worry, Prez, I got this one. I'll take care of it tonight. The handler's like, oh, no. Just stick to the script. I think he'll do fine. Gosh knows he's got the experience of having done this more than a few times. And he's actually, from what we understand, he's had already 3 mock debates. He hasn't tried to fly this thing by. He's actually doing the substance part of it from the prep. Would you counsel that the public wants to see a guy who goes after the other guy on the stage in Joe Biden, or is it more calm, reserved Joe Biden? Because I don't know. That's a natural fit for him.
I think the public wants to see Biden going after Paul Ryan. I think that's the reason why the reaction to the first debate was so strong and so lopsided, because Obama didn't go after Mitt Romney on the stage. Now, I don't think it would have been appropriate for Obama to do it against Romney. I think it's entirely appropriate for Biden to take the axe to Paul Ryan. And I expect to hear lots of lines along the lines of, that guy who spoke in the debate last week, you would have voted against every single one of his proposals. In fact, you did vote against every single one of his proposals. Not only that, but if this moderate gets into the White House, this moderate or conservative in moderate clothing, your party isn't going to allow any of his things to get passed because they're not conservative enough. I think it's going to be Ryan's own voting record that Biden will use and probably throw it in his face. And Biden has sharp enough elbows that he can give as good as he gets.
Dom, we saw bigger numbers in audiences for the first debate, and I don't know what the last VP, I don't know what kind of an audience or rating point that the last 4 years ago, but I would expect it was pretty high because it was Sarah Palin with all the attention built up. You think they got a big crowd on Thursday night for this one?
Of course. Maybe for the wrong reason. I hope for the right reason, because one of these 2 men could ultimately be, in the snap of a moment, the President of the United States. But frankly, you're going to get the huge numbers because Americans will be watching for the train wreck. They'll be watching to see if Biden will go off message, and he's not. This is much easier than what he had 4 years ago. 4 years ago, he had to be extremely careful as to not be seen as attacking Sarah Palin. And so now, mark my word, he is going to go after Ryan as almost an empty suit and expose him as a radical.
An interesting backdrop to this one is we're hearing reports that Biden strongly considering a run in 2016 and everything else. He always played the loyal surrogate. And Ryan, the debate was, well, wait a minute, my policies and platforms don't necessarily line up with Mitt Romney's. Is there an interesting backdrop to, are they there to promote the top of the ticket, or are they there to talk about themselves and what they believe?
Their job is to promote the top of the ticket, in line, completely. Joe Biden running for president, that's really laughable today. And I'll tell you this, is that the vast majority of New Yorkers, and, you know, are going to be watching a playoff game on Thursday night. They're not going to be watching a vice presidential debate. You know, if you're a New York sports fan, you're watching the Yankee game on Thursday night. Now, that doesn't go for the rest of the country, obviously, but we are way overplaying this debate. Brad had one very valid point.
The entire night, or just in this segment?
One. If it were to turn out, and I don't think it does, because Biden is experienced, et cetera, et cetera. I think Ryan will impress on the fact his knowledge of government, et cetera. You're not going to throw numbers around and he doesn't know what they mean, et cetera.
I
agree.
Besides budget, what knowledge of government?
The budget and economic issues are kind of important right now. But the point is that I think,
well, bam,
right, is that I think that you're going to see on Thursday night a debate among two guys who will have very, very different opinions about the way government should look. But as Brad said, if for some reason Ryan to really deliver a huge night that, like we saw last week, that would have a big effect.
I
don't think it is.
We jump to a break here. When we come back, we'll leave politics because today, obviously, some other news completely unrelated to the presidential trail. Reminder first, though, programming note, Thursday night, for those of you who will not be watching the playoff game, and I'm conflicted myself, we will be having the VP debate for you. We'll have complete coverage. It begins at 9 o'clock. It's 90 minutes, just like the presidential. And just like the presidential debate, immediately following, we'll have post-game analysis. We'll have all that for you for anybody watching us on Fios 1 and RNN TV. All right, when we come back, though, today's news out of Pennsylvania, the sentencing of Jerry Sandusky. He will be behind bars for, in all likelihood, the rest of his life. But did the sentence send a strong enough statement? Some people don't think it did. Our legal analyst breaks through the legalese when we return.